It's been around 4 years since I started my career within FP&A, and I feel like more and more people are choosing it over other paths within finance for the many perks that it offers. With that in mind, I think the more attention that it gets, the more difficult it's going to make it for you to land your first FP&A role. So I made this video to outline exactly what I do today if I was starting over to land my first job within FP&A. Now, if you're in college, you're going to have a multitude of advantages, so I'm going to walk you through step by step what you should be doing to land an offer for an FP&A position before you even graduate. Even if you're looking to transition from a different career path to FP&A and you're already out of school, this part of the video is still super useful, and I'm going to throw in a lot of advice that is applicable to you, but I promise at the end, I am going to capture everything that has to do with switching career paths as well. All right, so for those of you in college, whether you're an undergraduate or you're getting your master's, the same principles apply to both. So 2 things that I want to cover before we jump in are, 1, you do not need to be in a top college program to get into FP&A. Sure, you're going to have a lot of advantages and benefits for being in some of the best colleges within your country. For the most part, you don't need to go to a master's degree to get into FP&A. As a matter of fact, I would only recommend getting a master's or an MBA if you really have guaranteed some sort of benefit that outweighs the cost and time that you have to put into it. Now that we have that covered, let's talk about the first thing that you should be thinking about while you're in college, and that's going to be your major. So there's 3 majors that I would recommend considering if your goal is to get an FP&A job outside of college, and those would be finance, accounting, and economics. And I would actually rank order them in the same way that I listed them, and that's because it's what I've seen the highest paying companies look for on a resume for some of the top FP&A entry-level jobs out there. Now, you might be wondering why I would rank order finance above the other majors if you're trying to get into FP&A. And it's similar to kind of private equity and investment banking, where hiring managers within those fields typically like to see finance a lot of times because it's what they're familiar with. But in addition to that, finance majors typically get the most resources allotted to them that cater to landing FP&A jobs or ones that are most similar to that. If you're even able to double major within finance and accounting, that is even more impressive. All right, so GPAs. I know that you've probably heard some stupid ass quote within the past that says the 100 most richest people in America have less than a 3.0 GPA. And that's great and maybe true, but if you're wanting to get into FP&A, that quote is just not relevant to you. Now, when I say above average GPA, I personally had a 3.5, and that is around an A- average within the US system. But personally, I would aim for around a 3.4 as a minimum, which is around a B+ to an A- average. College is definitely to be enjoyed and have lots of good times in, so I wouldn't sacrifice your social life to get much higher than those numbers. You definitely don't need a 4.0 or a perfect score to break in. All right, so this portion of the video is going to be the most important, and it applies heavily to those in college who have a big advantage here, but also to those who are trying to transition from another career. Although your major and GPA are super important, this part of the video is really where most people mess up while they're in college and don't capitalize enough to land a job offer before graduating. The thing that most people do not make use of while in college is that term networking. And although it's ambiguous, I'm going to specifically tell you what you need to be doing in order to make the most of the opportunity that you have and not waste your time. When networking, you have one set of objectives, and that's really to land an internship, a full-time role, or a part-time job. Now, before we jump in, if I were to make a tier list on what kind of jobs you need to prioritize for full-time offers or internships, I would first put FP&A or financial analyst roles at the top. And if you don't know how to verify what exactly is an FP&A role, then click on this video right here that's going to outline exactly what to spot when you're searching. The second types of roles that I would prioritize are finance leadership development programs or finance rotational programs. And the reason that I put this below number 1 is strictly because you don't actually have a guarantee that you're going to do a rotation within FP&A. And so what you need to do is do your due diligence before you join one of these and make sure that you will have the opportunity to get the kind of rotations you're looking for before you actually sign up for it. Now, the third kind of roles that you should prioritize are going to be financial reporting or accounting analyst roles. Although they're not directly FP&A experience, they're going to bring a big leg up to your resume when you're actually applying for full-time offers if you get an internship within them. And also you'll build a lot of connections within the FP&A team that might just bring you back for that full-time role. So now that you know what to target when you're networking, how do you actually network? So the first thing you're going to do is any clubs within your school that are aimed at finance majors or just finance experience in general, you're going to join them. I don't care if 5 people show up to the meetings and all they do is talk about the stock market every week. If they're an officially recognized club of the school, then go ahead and become a member. You don't need to become a president of this club or give a bunch of speeches, but you should go in person and become acquaintances with the members for a few reasons. One, those members might be older than you, and so when they go on to maybe go into an FP&A role, a position might open up and you could reach out to them and you already have that connection established. 2, it just very quickly and easily adds experience to your resume or talking points with very little effort. And lastly, university clubs typically have people come out from recognizable companies to speak about their experiences, and that is a perfect opportunity for you to be able to chat them up, build a connection, and have someone to reach out to when jobs in their companies pop up. Not only that, but even your classes will have people come out to talk to the entire course at times, and you should take every one of those advantages to speak to them and build a connection or someone to reach out to, because you never know if they know someone who is looking to hire an entry-level FP&A person within their company. Now, if you need a step-by-step on how to go about chatting them up or building connections in person like that, it probably would be a whole separate video, but leave a comment down below if that would be of interest. All right, so if you take away anything from this video, especially within this networking section, which I've already stated is the most important part of the video, that would be to attend career fairs. As a matter of fact, this is exactly how I secured my job offer while I was still in college. I went to a career fair and got an opportunity within a finance rotational program. And so the one thing that I would really recommend is just any career fair that is happening that potentially has finance or business related companies coming out, I would attend them. The great thing about career fairs is that there are many fairs out there where companies are looking for people with experience already. And so that is the perfect place for people who are looking to make a transition and are already out of college to go to as well. If that's you, just search on Google local finance career fairs in blank city, and you should be able to find some opportunities and definitely make it a priority for yourself to go to them. If you're in college though, I want you to start as early as possible to go out to these career fairs and meet those potential employers. Go Google search what to bring to career fairs, come prepared, and use this as the best opportunity to talk to employers for future roles. Think about it. The companies at career fairs are specifically there with the one agenda of finding good talent for potential opportunities that exist now or future opportunities that are going to come down the road. And so that is your chance to swoop in and put your name out there for when that time meets the opportunity and you can land that role you're looking for. Now, if the career fairs are just not working out for you or for some reason not an option, there is one last thing that you could really pair as the cherry on top to ensure that you do get some kind of experience and eventually get into an FP&A role. Cold reaching out is something that friends of mine have done, and it has landed them roles that they were looking for. And so there's 2 things that you need to think about when it comes to doing this. So the first thing that you want to do is reach out to alumni of your school who are within finance roles at companies that you would like to be a part of, and specifically reach out to the ones who have current job openings available that you're interested in or who take intern classes. Intern classes are essentially where some companies have specific times of the year where they're looking to bring in a group of interns, like 5 to 6, and you want to make sure you're an expert on which companies those are and what times of the year they bring in these classes. Sometimes they do summer intern classes, and sometimes they even do summer and winter. And when you reach out to some of these alumni, do not be like some of the LinkedIn messages that I get where it's like, hey, we went to the same school. Can you refer me to this job, please? What I wish I could tell them is there's 3,000 people that have applied to this role, a lot of which who have great experience. And so if you're asking me to refer you for a position and you're not even in the top half of applicants, what you're really asking me to do is to look bad to my manager or whoever I'm making the referral to. So what you should do instead is introduce yourself, explain why you're a good fit for that role, link the specific role that you're looking for, and then ask them if they think you're a good fit for the role, would they be interested in linking you to a more visible application, or what we would call an application that is specifically made as a referral to put you at the top of a resume stack? And leave the question on them. Let them determine if you are a good fit. And if they don't reply, that probably means no. And if they tell you you're not, then use it as an opportunity to maybe connect with them and learn how they developed the experiences they could to get to where they are. And remember, at the end of the day, no one really owes you their time. And so this may take a lot of reach outs to eventually have someone that's willing to maybe lend you a hand. The second thing that you could do is reach out to internal recruiters within companies to get a leg up for positions that you see a lot of people applying to. And so the way that I would do this, let's say if you saw a job at Meta, you want to search finance recruiter Meta on LinkedIn and try to find who that may be, or G&A recruiter Meta, or G&A talent sourcer. Those are the people typically responsible for finance hires. And so you outline the same kind of message we did with the alumni, where, hey, I am so on and so forth. Here's a link to a job that I was really interested in. I believe I'm a strong candidate. For X reasons, if you think I'm a good fit too, I would love to continue the conversation on this role. And here is my resume, That's like a high level outline, but you could search on Google kind of how to craft a perfect message for these recruiters. And lastly, if none of the above are really working for you and trying to get a full-time or internship opportunity, then one of my favorite hidden secrets that a lot of people do not aim for, that is open for the taking, is to cold reach out to local, smaller finance or accounting firms. You want to introduce yourself in the same way that you did with alumni or recruiters, but maybe add that local touch. And specifically, if you're in college, look for those part-time opportunities at their companies. They might not exist, but with the right messaging and the right intrigue within their business, they might be open to having a helping hand on board, maybe 20 hours a week, to assist with certain accounting functions or finance reporting that really could give you a leg up in your experiences. A great example of this is a close friend of mine was struggling to get an internship while in college and actually reached out to a local accounting firm to see if they needed any help with anything. And through a few back and forths with actually the founder of that local firm, they offered her the position to go there for around 20 hours a week and help out while she was in college. And so that opportunity actually got her another part-time opportunity while she was still in college. And that was enough experience for her to actually land a financial analyst role before even graduating. My point with that being is that a lot of people harp on getting an internship while in college because that's what you hear you need to do. But a lot of my friends have actually had opportunities given to them without any internship experience, just by reaching out to those local firms. And in my eyes, that local experience of where you're working even a year within a part-time role instead of 2 months in an internship is even more so valuable to employers. And a lot of people just aren't thinking about looking for them at those firms. All right, so as promised, if you are out of college now, I'm going to talk you through more specifically what you should do to try to transition into an FP&A role. So years ago, even if you weren't a business major, you probably could have transitioned from one area of a company to FP&A just by networking internally. Today, that's just a lot harder to do since the field is drawing a lot more talent in, but it's not impossible. First, if you're within a company that does have an FP&A team, my primary suggestion would be to try and network with them and see if they're open to any internal crossovers or transitions onto their team. That advice applies really strongly to those of you who are already within accounting or FP&A roles at a specific company. A lot of you have those transferable skills to be able to do the job, especially at an entry level. And so even if it doesn't seem like you're able to from the FP&A team's perspective, plant that seed, talk to them, try to learn what skills it takes to actually move on to their team. Even if it makes you have to go down one level, if you're really dedicated to going into a career path within FP&A, I think that is well worth it. Now, what if you don't have the opportunity to transition internally or didn't major within any of the majors I outlined earlier within this video? Well, my recommendation would be to try to get a Master's of Finance or an MBA as most affordable as you can, and use all of the tips that I explained earlier in this video. Because once you get back into school, those opportunities that we mentioned earlier are all going to reopen for you. But if you don't want to do that, or if you already majored within finance, accounting, or economics and just don't have the opportunity to transition internally, then I have one really good piece of advice for you, and that would be to try and find a stepping stone job. A stepping stone job is something like a financial reporting analyst or a financial analyst that does something outside of FP&A but has more similar transferable skills. The best stepping stone jobs, though, are financial systems roles, which is essentially people focused on creating the tools and customizing the tools that financial planning and analysis teams use. And so that is something that I highly recommend because you can actually learn the skills to get one of these positions outside of college and outside of on-the-job training. You could actually download one of these softwares and try to learn and become an expert at them yourself. And that can give you a leg up into one of these financial systems opportunities, even if those aren't available to you. I have specifically seen people from small consulting firms or the Big Four in external audit positions, or even internal auditors within private companies transition to FP&A. You just have to shape your resume in a specific way that outlines the skills that you've learned that are actually transferable to FP&A. If you're just describing audit and what you did within audit, it's not going to really showcase the skills that you have to transition over. But if you're outlining what you did that was surrounding Excel modeling within audit, or if you got yourself exposure to that, what you did within a financial planning software around financial statements, anything like that, or working with key stakeholders to solve a decision, that is really the skills that they're looking for when hiring for these FP&A entry-level positions. The great thing about these stepping stone roles is that they typically have a lower applicant pool than those of the FP&A jobs I've seen today, but my number one tip for them is to try and target companies with really large FP&A teams. Your number one goal in the stepping stone job even is to network internally with the FP&A team and laterally transition onto it. And so the larger that FP&A team is, the more opportunities that allows for you to make that transition. And to be honest, I've actually seen this happen a lot of times throughout my career, where someone on the accounting team expressed their interest, or even people on the audit team expressed their interest and eventually landed their first role within FP&A. And I could assure you, if you use the stepping stone opportunity to try to gain experiences that are transferable, as I mentioned, and outline them as such on your resume, you will land that job eventually. It just takes time. But before you ever start trying to transition or apply to FP&A roles, you really want to know the different career paths within FP&A. It's one of the most important things that people don't take into consideration. There's sales FP&A, G&A FP&A, and all these different paths. And so I have this video that you're going to want to watch to make sure you go down the right path. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support. And until next time, talk soon.